Good to have you with us on this Monday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're going to get started this morning with the race for the White House and just one more day until more than a dozen states head to the polls on Super Tuesday.
Today in North Dakota, 29 delegates will be up for grabs in the Republican presidential caucuses there. Former President Donald Trump is looking to inch closer to winning the party's nomination with a win today and then a strong showing tomorrow. Trump's rival, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, did win her first nominating contest of the primary season. NBC News projects Haley as the winner easily in the Washington, D.C. primary over the weekend. It's a win her campaign hopes will spark some momentum heading into Super Tuesday.
Meanwhile, Trump has extended his overall delegate lead over Haley by picking up wins on Saturday in Idaho, Michigan, and Missouri. Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker sat down with Nikki Haley and spoke about the state of the race and whether she would support Trump if he becomes the nominee. Here are some highlights.
Hello there, Savannah and Joe. This week on Meet the Press, I spoke with former Ambassador Nikki Haley. Here's what she had to say about whether she would stand by her RNC pledge to support the Republican nominee, even if it's Donald Trump. You did sign a pledge, an RNC pledge, to support the eventual nominee. Do you still feel bound by that pledge?
I have always said that I have serious concerns about Donald Trump. I have even more concerns about Joe Biden.
So is that a no? Are you bound by the RNC pledge?
The RNC pledge, I mean, at the time of the debate, we had to take it to where would you support the nominee? And you had to, in order to get on that debate stage, you said yes. The RNC is now not the same RNC. Now it's
So you're no
Trump's
longer bound
daughter-in-law.
by that pledge?
No, I think I'll make what decision I want to make, but that's not something I'm thinking about. And I think that while y'all think about that, I'm looking at the fact that we had thousands of people in Virginia. We're headed to North Carolina. We're going to continue to go to Vermont and Maine and all these states to go and show people that there is a path forward. And so I don't look at what ifs. I look at how do we continue the conversation.
You can see my full interviews and a lot more at MeetThePress.com. You can also get more Meet the Press here on NBC News Now every weekday at 4 p.m.
All right, Kristen, thank you. For more on the race, we're joined now by NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. Good to have you with us. Let's start with Nikki Haley's first primary win in D.C. I guess first, was this expected? And second, how significant is it as we head into Super Tuesday?
You could make the case that it was the next... Excuse me, guys. Monday here. The next best chance for Nikki Haley outside of her home state of South Carolina, which Donald Trump beat her handily in. When you're looking at Washington, D.C., you know, Donald Trump dismissed the fact that she won there, saying overnight, quote, I purposely stayed away from the D.C. vote because it is the, quote, swamp with very few delegates and no upside. Again, Donald Trump trying to make the case that it's the insiders that want Nikki Haley, nobody else. Of course, he also picked up wins in the likes of Missouri, Idaho, and Michigan this weekend, where Nikki Haley did not.
Let's talk about Super Tuesday. So this is more than a dozen states, nearly 900 delegates. What are you going to be watching out for?
Right. 1/3 of the delegate haul is going to come out of tomorrow's election results. And there's big plays in places like California. If one of the candidates, we're expecting that to be Donald Trump, gets over 50%, he would take all of the delegates out of California. So when does Donald Trump actually hit the delegate threshold to become what we call the presumptive nominee, essentially hit that mark to be the guy? We expect it as soon as March 12th. And if not then, March 19th, because the polling in each of these more than 12 states show Donald Trump is dominating. And so far, the results so far have shown no reason as to why that won't be the case tomorrow.
Let's look at something happening in two of the states. Arkansas and North Carolina voters will encounter stricter voter ID requirements put in place since 2020. What are these requirements and how could they impact things?
Right. All these new laws are playing out in real time. Since the 2020 election, 8 states have new voter ID laws, including North Carolina and Arkansas. So in both of those states, folks have to show some form of ID, photo ID, when they are coming to the polls. And in the case of North Carolina, if you are sending in a mail ballot, you even have to send in a copy, a photocopy of your photo ID along with your ballot in the mail. So these new measures are going into effect. And we should note now 36 states around the country have some form of voter ID laws for folks when they go to the polls.
It's going to be a big issue throughout the year. All right, Vaughn Hilliard, thank you so much. We're going to have full coverage of Super Tuesday right here on NBC News Now. Our extended coverage gets underway tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. 2 o'clock Pacific time.
And as we head into Super Tuesday, the Supreme Court could decide today if former President Trump will remain on the primary ballot in Colorado.
Mr. Trump, oh, sorry.
Trump is currently on the state primary ballot after a hold was placed on the Colorado Supreme Court ruling that removed him because of his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results.
Trump's legal challenges are keeping the Supreme Court busy. In another incredibly important case, justices will hear arguments toward the end of April at issue whether former presidents have immunity for actions taken while in office. That decision could have far-reaching implications in several other charges the former president is facing.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos joins us now with more. Danny, good morning. So a decision is expected today on whether Trump should be included on Colorado's primary ballot tomorrow. We could get this today. Take us back to the oral arguments and what they really seem to reveal about how the justices are thinking and what a ruling could potentially look like here.
Justices on the court, including those considered on the liberal side of the line, seem skeptical or concerned about the idea that an individual state could keep a presidential candidate off the ballot and thereby substantially affecting the outcome of an election. And so, just as they predicted, we now see all these different challenges that are procedurally very different. Some of them are in the state courts. Some of them are administratively through the state Secretary of State, for example. So the justices have a lot of issues before them. And the challengers, those who seek to keep Trump off the ballot, have to have a lot of things go right for them. Meanwhile, on the other hand, it really seems that the justices only need to conclude that any of the challengers' positions are wrong and Trump stays on the ballot. If you're betting, the odds are Trump stays on all of these ballots.
So, Danny, this isn't Trump's only case in front of the high court. The justices have also agreed to hear these arguments over his claim of presidential immunity. I know it's a tough one to figure out, but how likely is the high court to reverse the lower court's decision, which says no immunity for you? And is the delay alone just a win for the former president?
If this were a normal case, you might think the Supreme Court never would have taken this up in the first place, and here's why. You have the issue at the district court goes one way. Then it goes the exact same way at the Circuit Court of Appeals, no immunity. Under ordinary circumstances, you would think that this petition, this request for the high court to hear this case would be denied because there's really nothing for them to take on. Normally, you have a circuit split or some reason, some patchwork law throughout the United States that interests the court. However, this is an issue of monumental legal importance, so the court was likely to take it up for that reason. And even though they put in their order, taking up the case is no indication about how they feel about the merits of the case. Now, you take that how you will in that short order. So how are they likely to rule? That who knows? But in terms of creating delay, the Trump team has succeeded in the sense that this is more months added on, and as we get closer and closer, it seems more and more difficult to have a trial in the middle of the election this year.
So, Danny, one of the cases that could maybe be impacted, right, depending on how timing shakes out by the Supreme Court decision on this immunity issue, is the classified documents case. So this is that material that was found at Mar-a-Lago. And so far, the judge has not set a new trial date. Now, prosecutors wanted to start in July. Trump's attorneys, though, talking about delays, want it postponed until at least August. What are some of the issues at play here for both sides as they argue over a start date?
I just want to set the stage. Whenever you're in federal court, and this is a federal case, you're going to trial within a matter of months. Now, if you have an unusually complex case, you can stretch that out a little bit. But arguably, all the Trump cases are unusually complex. The government disagrees with that notion, including in the documents case. But, I mean, it's a former president. It's unprecedented. The legal issues involved are going to be things that we've never looked at before. So even in federal court, which moves at breakneck speed, these cases are moving slowly. I said in 2023 that trials would be going on in 2025. Everyone thought I was nuts, including me, and now maybe I wasn't so nuts.
All right, one more case to talk about here, Danny, and that is the Georgia election interference case, the motion to dismiss the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis. Friday, the judge said that he expects to have a decision in about 2 weeks. Real quick, how high is the bar for removing a DA? What is at stake if she's removed?
The answer is, after all this oral argument, we don't entirely know what the standard is for removal. Is it just the appearance of impropriety, or do you need an actual conflict, something that affects the prosecution of the case? Because, you know, arguably all of these things that are going on between two DAs and having an affair or whatever it is, allegedly, have nothing to do with the substantive guilt or innocence of the defendants. But Judge Scott McAfee is inscrutable. It's hard to tell which way he's going, but the standard here is going to be key. And then what happens to the case? Well, technically, nothing happens to the underlying prosecution. In theory, a new prosecutor could waltz in and take over the case. But as our political analysts will tell you, politically, it's a disaster. This DA, Fani Willis, was the architect of this case. Who else wants to step in and take on a case that may have been mortally wounded at this point by this motion to disqualify?
All right, Danny Savalos, as always, thank you.
Let's turn now to the Middle East, where talks over a ceasefire hostage deal in Gaza are intensifying. A Hamas delegation is in Cairo this morning for negotiations after a U.S. official said over the weekend that Israel had essentially accepted the proposed framework for a 6-week truce.
The talks come after the U.S. carried out its first aid drop over Gaza on Saturday. This is a joint effort with Jordan. The UN says a quarter of Gaza's population is now starving. In Selma, Alabama yesterday, Vice President Kamala Harris brought up the humanitarian situation in the Palestinian enclave and called for a ceasefire. In some of the strongest comments yet by a U.S. leader, Harris called the conditions in Gaza inhumane and rebuked Israel for not letting enough aid in.
What we are seeing every day in Gaza is devastating. We have seen reports of families eating leaves or animal feed. Women giving birth to malnourished babies with little or no medical care, and children dying from malnutrition and dehydration. The Israeli government must do more to significantly increase the flow of aid. No excuses. They must open new border crossings. They must not impose any unnecessary restrictions on the delivery of aid.
Joining us now, NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa and our foreign correspondent Megan Fitzgerald. Good morning to both of you. Megan, let's start with you. What is the latest on these ceasefire hostage talks in Cairo? Are we actually getting any closer to a deal?
Well, look, Joe, you know, both Egypt and the U.S. have said that these negotiations seem promising. While Israel didn't send a high-level delegation to Cairo, U.S. officials are saying that Israel has basically agreed to the proposal that's on the table right now, and that the Israelis are increasingly optimistic that a deal can be reached by the start of the holy month of Ramadan, which, by the way, is about a week away on March 10th. Here's what we know about this potential deal. It's based around the U.S. proposal for a 6-week ceasefire, and it would allow for more humanitarian aid to reach the enclave. It's anticipated that this deal would allow for the release of some hostages taken from Israel in exchange for the release of some Palestinian prisoners. An Israeli official did tell NBC News that Hamas has not yet provided a list of which hostages remain alive, calling it a key issue. So, look, things seem to be progressing, but at this moment, an agreement has not yet been reached.
Ali, let's bring you in here and talk about that speech that we just heard a little bit of from Vice President Harris, expressing that disapproval at how Israel's been restricting aid. Tell us more. What else did we hear from her?
Yeah, Vice President Harris was in Selma, Alabama yesterday to commemorate the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And while she was there, she delivered really just in general the Biden administration's sharpest criticism yet of Israel's handling of its war with Hamas. As you laid out, she talked about in painful detail how dire the humanitarian crisis there has become. She called on Israel to do more to allow that humanitarian aid to flow in. And this comes, of course, after we saw the first deliveries of U.S. airdrops in cooperation and coordination with the Jordanian Air Force. Those airdrops delivering nearly 40,000 ready-to-eat meals over Gaza's coastline on Saturday. Vice President Harris also urged Israel to open more of those land routes after we know that 2 of Israel's border crossings are opened, but the aid that is flowing through there has been bottlenecked in recent weeks. And Harris really doubled down on the administration's calls for a pause in fighting, to not just allow for the flow of more humanitarian aid into Gaza, but also the release of remaining hostages. Listen to what she said here.
And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire. Hamas claims it wants a ceasefire. Well, there is a deal on the table. And as we have said, Hamas needs to agree to that deal.
Her comments, of course, coming at a critical time. As you heard, Megan talked about those critical ceasefire talks in Cairo kicking off yesterday. No doubt the Biden administration watching those very closely, guys.
So, Megan, the vice president in her comments painting a picture of what's happening inside Gaza. Now NBC News has learned 2 6-month-old twins were among those killed in an Israeli airstrike on Rafah yesterday. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, Joe, this is just another devastating story that we continue to see coming out of Gaza. An Israeli attack killed 19 people in this particular strike. Among those killed, as you mentioned, 6-month-old twins. Our team on the ground in Gaza spoke to the 29-year-old mother who tearfully said that she lost both of her twins and her husband. She kept repeating while holding her babies, who would now call her mom. The Associated Press is reporting this woman had been trying to have children for 10 years. Our team on the ground also spoke to a man who says that he lost 30 members of his family during this war, guys.
Oh, just so heartbreaking. Ali, we know Vice President Harris and Secretary Blinken are actually meeting with Israeli War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz today in Washington. We understand, though, Gantz is making this visit without Prime Minister Netanyahu's approval. Explain to us what's going on here.
Yeah, guys, Gantz is not just a top Israeli war cabinet member. He's also a political rival of Prime Minister Netanyahu, as he represents a much more centrist view compared to Netanyahu's very conservative government. So we understand that he's going to be in Washington, D.C. for a few days, meeting with, as you mentioned, Vice President Harris, as well as Secretary of State Antony Blinken, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, and lawmakers on Capitol Hill. And they're going to be talking about not just the war in Gaza. They're going to be talking about how to ease the humanitarian suffering there, but also talk about plans for what the day after the war is going to look like as far as security and a governing system in Gaza. So lots more to come out of those meetings.
All right, Ali and Megan, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Let's turn now to California, where the biggest snowstorm of the season has been barreling through the Sierra Nevada region. This morning, residents are attempting to dig out as snow totals continue to build after a weekend of battling relentless conditions, including heavy snow and strong wind gusts.
The National Weather Service says at times the rate of snowfall in the region was more than 3 inches of snow every hour. That created life-threatening whiteout conditions for drivers on the road. Interstate 80 was shut down for miles.
NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson joins us now from Checkey, California with the latest. Steve, good morning. How are things where you are? Tell us what you're seeing.
Savannah, it is miraculous. I've been outside for about an hour now, and this is maybe the least amount of snow that we've seen since we've been on the ground here. I've got a train coming by. It's going to be very, very loud. But I can tell you that this has been a continuous snowfall situation since Thursday night. With, as you mentioned, some communities seeing those 3 to 5 inches every hour covering this region in snow. At one point, there was an expanse of about 300 miles just of blizzard warnings. So the fact that we're getting a break, and we are, this storm system currently is moving out, being replaced by another one, is a very welcome reprieve for residents. The danger, though, still on the road. As far as we know, Interstate 80 still shut down for about 100 miles. Guys?
Steve powered through the wind all weekend long, so
Yeah,
the train,
just what
piece
train
of cake,
it
no
is.
problem at
Right
all.
as he starts.
As we mentioned, Steve, things, got so intense over the weekend. Interstate 80 was closed. As of yesterday, the California Highway Patrol said it had no estimated time of it reopening. What more can you tell us about that and what it really means for people who depend on that vital artery?
Well, first of all, I mean, this was the worst situation that the storm brought. At some points, people had to leave their cars on the highway. They were being rescued from the interstate because of just how blindingly whiteout conditions were. I can tell you, just being in the car, driving around areas, visibility was next to zero. So they had to make that decision. But it is a huge decision. That is the major thoroughfare. That is the thing that connects communities in this entire mountain region. So instead of going in a straight line direction, you might have to go the entirety around Lake Tahoe to get to where you're going. It means that people were cut off. And I think it hit really fast. That sort of decision caught people off guard. I spoke to one woman who said she was just expecting some snow, but they got that huge storm, and it was really, really unexpected. Listen to this.
We definitely thought, maybe there was a little too much hype at first, the first like 36 hours. And then Friday night, we came downtown. It was definitely a blizzard, and we woke up to a lot of snow yesterday, and it never let up. But yeah, we went from 0 to 100 pretty fast.
0 to 100 very fast. People here are hardy. They don't believe the media when we say it's going to snow really bad. And I think even people here were really caught off guard by how much snow we got.
And Steve, more on the way, right? The region expecting another snowstorm today. How are people preparing for that on top of what's already on the ground behind you?
First of all, I think we should change preparing to prepared. People in this region just know what to do. I mean, and we've already faced now the worst storm of the season, likely to be the worst storm all year. And the worst that we're talking about, frankly, is just a really big road closure. So I think, we're going to get more snow, of course, maybe 1 to 2 feet in some communities. It could be as early as this afternoon, likely more like just a few inches in several other communities. But, nobody wants to see it, but I think people are prepared for it. They're ready for it. These crews have been working all day and all night. A little bit more snow is nothing they can't handle. Guys.
All right, Steve Patterson, stay warm. Thank you very much.
Stay on weather and bring in meteorologist Michelle Grossman for a look at this week's forecast.
Oh, wow, Michelle, look at those images from Steve. Good morning.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, some spots got over 40 inches of snow in just 24 hours. And we're going to add to that, as Steve mentioned, we're going to add 1 to 2 feet in some spots, anywhere from 4 to 8 in the lower elevations. So we do have winter alerts still this morning, and these impacts will be felt not only today, but Tuesday, also Wednesday. We're going to see blowing snow. We're going to see blizzard conditions in some spots, still really cold, and some wind we're going to throw in there as well. Then on the coast, we're looking at some rain, and some of that could cause some flooding. So let's talk about today. Here's that next system coming on shore. This will bring the impacts through Wednesday. We're going to see heavy rain, more snow for northern California. Then as we go throughout tomorrow, we'll see the heaviest snow confined to the northern Sierra. So that would be 1 to 2 feet, 2 feet being the highest elevations. And then we're going to see that rain increasing for the coastal areas, still really saturated there. So it's not going to take much to cause some flooding. And we're going to see 1 to 3 inches. Then by Wednesday, snow showers steadily decrease. So we're going to see improving conditions, but still this rain stretching to Southern California. So we'll see the system kind of sink down to the south. Where you see those brighter colors, that's where we expect the heaviest rain. The heaviest snow will be in the highest elevations, anywhere from 1 to 2 feet. Lower elevations, as Steve mentioned, we'll see inches of snow. And then we'll see anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain from Washington all the way down to California, where you see those darker colors, especially along the coast, is where we're going to see the heaviest rain. Also expecting a lot of rain in portions of the east. So today we're going to see the system moving off to the east. That's going to bring the chance for rain from the southern plains all the way into the Midwest. On the northern part of this, where you see that cold air, where you see this blue here, we're going to see some snow falling along the Great Lakes and also kind of a mixture in between. But we will see pockets of heavy rain. Also concerned about the threat for some severe weather today, also tomorrow. Tomorrow, the rain chances return to the northeast, and we're going to keep the rain in the forecast there for a couple days. You will need that umbrella for a while. Today, the severe threat, winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Could see some large hail as well. Where you see this green area, that is the likeliest spot. So Houston to Dallas, Little Rock, St. Louis into Burlington, even Chicago could see some gusty thunderstorms as we go throughout this Monday. Then by tomorrow, we're looking at that threat from Little Rock to Shreveport, Alexandria, down to New Orleans. Again, we're seeing winds gusting at 60 miles per hour, some hail, even a tornado threat, but that is on the lower side. Another big story, we'll end it here. We're looking at really warm conditions, very spring-like. We're looking at temperatures into the 70s in a lot of spots. Look at Buffalo, 36 degrees above normal. We're looking at 73, 76 in Cincinnati. St. Louis 79, Knoxville 73 degrees. As we go throughout tomorrow, we'll keep that spring-like weather in the forecast because we're looking at temperatures still well above normal. Some temperatures today will be close to 40 degrees above normal. So by tomorrow, we're looking at Pittsburgh 73 and Charleston 77. Back to you both.
Spring break in Buffalo.
80 degrees
I know, right?
in Charleston. That's
Let's
wild.
go.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.